Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Always Forward Podcast. I got my very good friend Jeff Smith. I love you, dude. Like your whole situation, dude. I told Allie, I was like, I just want to be friends with these guys. You and your wife and what you guys have going on. I'm like, you just seem like my people.
Yeah, I agree, man. I appreciate you having me on, bro. I feel the same way about you guys. So the feeling is definitely mutual. And
the listeners will understand why that is here in a second. Our mindsets are very similar. Our paths are very similar. We're on the same path. And I mean, I got to kick it off, dude. This guy is, to keep the connection and people wanting to listen. The guy is also not only is he a father, a real estate, I'm going to say mogul. Is that the word? How do you say that? Mogul, real estate mogul. Business owner, entrepreneur, freaking coach. But not only that, he's a badass Army Ranger as well.
I appreciate that, man. That's a great intro.
Maybe a long time ago. It feels like forever ago, right?
Yeah, a lifetime ago. That's who I was.
Yeah.
The real estate, the father, all that stuff is current.
Yeah, that's what matters, and that's I think that I was talking to an active duty guy at my old unit yesterday. We were rolling. He beat the living shit out of me at jiu-jitsu, and we were talking about that, about identity and how a lot of people struggle with leaving, and it's because they don't know who they are. And it's like you and I now, like, yeah, we did that. It's part of who we were in a way. It's definitely not who we are today. And it's not something I attach. Like, I guess it's a resume builder, but it's not who I am.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of have landed in that same place over the years as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think I look at it kind of like you were all-state in football in high school, right?
Yes,
You're not going to go around in your 40s and be like, man, I was a fucking badass strong safety.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
And so I've always kind of felt like you had to kind of leave it behind, and it's the next thing. Like, what are you doing today? I'm really, really big on that, just like you are, I believe. That, like, I watch your stuff, and I'm literally like your number fanboy, to be honest.
Appreciate that.
So I think it's what is important is like what you get up and show up and do today. Like, right. What's behind you is behind you. And like, I feel like that applies to everything in life. And so, like, yes, we were in special operations. Yes, we did X, Y, and Z, but like, how are we showing up now? Because I believe that like, that's when people start dying.
Yeah.
And you atrophy and you fucking
right.
have all your problems.
So
right?
you peaked.
Your hips start getting.
So you peaked in your 20s. Cool, bro.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like I love the quote from Tony Soprano is the lowest form of communication is, hey man, remember when? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, and it's funny, man, because I don't think you guys have actually ever met Josh Hansberger, my partner and former teammate. I guess he's still technically a teammate. But we started a business, our coaching business. We started together, and years ago. And dude, it's funny because I talk about, I get on these podcasts and we talk about it. Dude, I've known him for, oh my God, dude, maybe 15 years, going on 15 years, bro. We have shot rounds together. Like, we have killed bad guys together, bro. We hardly ever talk about those times.
Yep.
We're always talking about what's next. What do we got to do? How do we become better? How do we make our relationships better? How do we make more money? How do we grow? It's always, how do we get fitter? How do we, empower the next generation? It's always the next thing. It's never, hey man, remember when?
And I think if that's not the case, you need to be checking your circle quickly. Because if you're sitting around a bunch of people that are talking about like how great things used to be, you're going in the wrong direction. And I'm inspired by people that are trying to grow constantly, even if they're fucking up, even if they're moving in the wrong direction.
That's okay. Like,
we've all done it.
We've all done it, dude. I'm the biggest fuck up of everybody. That's a fact, man. I've got skeletons in my closet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some of the people that hate me, that's all they talk about. It's like, bro, you don't, that's not even me anymore. Keep talking.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So going back, let's do the Remember Thin just in a nutshell so that people kind of get to know you. What's Jeff's background? Where'd you grow up?
I'm originally from Danville, Illinois, and which is right on the Indiana-Illinois state line, central Illinois, like Champaign-Urbana, Indianapolis area, kind of down there, 2 hours south of Chicago, not Chicago.
I was going to say you don't seem like a guy that should live there.
No. Chicago. I am not a big fan of Chicago.
No,
period.
I mean Illinois and Illinois in general.
Oh. Yes, yeah, and that's why we don't. We haven't lived there in 2008, and yeah, we definitely wouldn't live there if we were up there now for sure. It's some tough stuff going on up there.
Yeah.
But I grew up there. Went to college, played football for a minute, and then I ended up getting a corporate job when I was like 20 years old, working in a call center.
So you bailed out of college.
Yeah, I got injured, blew out my ankle pretty good, and then like that was the end of football for me. And then I was like, well, I'm just gonna start working and partying and still doing all the things. But then 9/11 happened, and right after 9/11, I enlisted in the military, went into the Army, and went into 2nd Ranger Battalion. Was stationed out up in Tacoma, Washington.
So you went straight. You went straight to 2nd Ranger Bat.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, yeah. I mean, I did all the steps.
Yeah.
I did basic, advanced infantry training, airborne school, then RIP at the time, Ranger Indoctrination Program, and then
super fun course, by the way. RIP is, our RIP and your RIP is very, very fun.
Yes, they are enjoyable times. I think we had 88 people start our Ranger Indoctrination Program, and we finished with 11.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting recycled the first time on the last day for having dirty BDUs. And me and one of my buddies, we had sandy BDUs because we didn't have enough. We didn't know how many uniforms we needed for the following day. And so they fucking recycled us, and generally that kicks you down to the regular Army. So like this guy and I were like in tears, man, like because we were graduating the next day. Our family was already on the way.
Oh my God,
on the fucking way. And but whatever, they saw something in us, because usually you're just like straight to Korea after that or some fucking dog shit station. And for whatever reason, the cadre was like, man, either I honestly think that they fucked it up and told us the wrong shit, and that's why they gave us another fucking mulligan. But they were like, listen, we got another class starting tomorrow, or it was Monday because that was a Friday. They were like, we've got another class starting Monday, and if you guys are willing to go into that class, then we'll allow you to start the next class.
Over
so I
from day one.
From day one, yes, yeah. So I did it 2 consecutive times in a row.
Bro, did they not know there was a war going on? Like we needed people to fight, bro.
Well, it was barely going on at that point, so they didn't care. They were like, these motherfuckers have to be hard as fuck because as soon as they get there, they're going.
Oh, my God, dude. That's
so
miserable.
They were testing our mettle. And we got there. I got Soldier of the Cycle the next time through, obviously.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But then it was straight up to Fort Lewis, Washington, and one of my buddies who was in that second class that went up there with us, I was number one in the class, and he was like whatever. He got some other award. I can't remember what it was, but we both went second bat. I tried to go into SECO because they were deploying immediately for Afghanistan, and they wouldn't take me because I'd been recycled. And so they sent me to ACO, and my buddy went to Afghanistan, and fucking his tour was shit, and they didn't do anything. And I ended up going to Iraq for the invasion.
Oh yeah.
Like 3 months later.
It worked out.
And,
it worked out for you then, huh? I guess it's good to be a shitbag.
Yeah,
I guess it's good to be a shitbag sometimes.
Yeah, it was more than 3 months later, I guess, to correct the timeline. But yeah, we ended up going to Iraq for the invasion, and we were in the forward operations with that, with the SEALs or SEAL Team 6 and the CAG guys stationed in Saudi Arabia for a while because we were running missions before the bomb started dropping.
Yeah, I was up in Turkey on the northern side.
Right.
With fifth group was coming on the other side. Interesting times to be alive, man. That was the interesting times.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
How long did you do in the Army?
Just under 3 years. I got hurt in training up there and I was down for a year. And so I got the options to, at the time it was 2004 or 5. And they were like, you can rehab here, take a desk job in battalion. And like, that's the worst position possible. Like you drink yourself to death or whatever you're going to do. If you like, everybody else gets to work and,
you die of like psoriasis by the time you're 26.
Yes. And, or I could go to the regular Army and rehab in the regular Army, or I could go home. And I was like, fuck it. I'm good. I'll go back, take a job, because I had a job lined up and everything else already. So I got out and started my career, if you will. And
were you guys already married to Kristen?
No. I met her, I guess, in 2006 is when we first started dating. And then we moved to Texas in 2008 because she was doing her PhD at Rice.
Oh, I didn't know that she's a smart lady. That makes more sense.
Yeah, dude. Like her story is super interesting. Her specialization is religious justification for suicide bombing, and Arabic and Islamic studies was her fucking area of study. She's got 2 masters and a fucking PhD in it.
Oh my God. I bet you guys have some riveting conversations. I can see your point of view. So when you guys first got together, were there plates broken? Was there shit broken in the living room? You guys talking?
Yeah, for sure. I think we stayed up for like 36 hours talking because I was still like a war hawk at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, all this is justified. Yes, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, I beg to differ. Let me explain to you a few things about the geopolitical climate of the last 100 years. And I'm like, fuck it.
Fuck no. Fucking scorched earth, motherfucker. Yeah.
I have since changed my tune on much of that, obviously, but
right.
We're an interesting dynamic.
We need to. I want to definitely get the 2. You know, if you guys ever come to North Carolina, I'd like to get all 4 of us at a table and do a podcast. I think that would be freaking awesome.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
let's do it.
All right. So
when you're in town.
So you guys. So talk to me like a little bit about your transition. Like, how did that go? Going from, military and that kind of environment, and then just rapidly getting out and having to recover and go into, civilian life.
Man, I jumped right back into work. I had like 6 months to go back to work. I was at work in like 6 days from getting out of the military. I went straight back to a Fortune 50 company, cubicle, khakis, all the shit, man. And just kind of blocked it all out, man. Like just switched positions. And it was a weird deal, and I handled it the wrong way, and it took longer than it should have to like.
That's what I was about to say. I wanted to say, so how did that work out for you, Jeff?
Not great. So there was a lot of like not dealing with a lot of shit. Right. Yeah. And then to top it off, in 2006, 2 of my teammates got killed that were my roommates when we were they got killed over in Iraq, and a bunch of other dudes on my team got blown up. And so we were over there, or not over there. We went to the funerals and all that shit. And so then there was like all that survivor's guilt and all that shit that goes along with that, right? Like, what are you doing? And so, it really took me a long time, probably truly like 10 years to probably snap out of everything and grow through it all. I mean, I just was a dipshit. I mean, drinking and
that's
sucking.
And that's what's sad, right? Because it doesn't have to take 10 years.
Yep. Exactly.
That's what I tell people. Like it doesn't have to take that long, but you have to do the fucking work, man. Like you have to put in. You got to put in the effort. It ain't something that you just gonna like over time gonna get by.
Yeah, but we're great at compartmentalizing, and like that's part of what makes us fucking special operators.
You have to. If somebody dies on the side, it's not like you can just ball up and go and fall apart. No, man, you got to keep going. There's the mission continues.
Right.
But we take that to a whole nother level though.
Yeah, exactly. And like that leads to a bunch of problems because you continue to compartmentalize and you're like, oh, this is over here, that's over there. And like, none of it matters. And until you realize that like you're killing yourself and like, and you're not living a fulfilled life. Right. And so I talk about like it taking 10 years to get through all my shit. Like that's a substantial amount of time of your life that's unnecessary.
and think about, think about the progress and money that you left on the table because of that 10 years. And I'm talking to myself as well, you know, because I left progress and money on the table because I took longer than I should have, or I wasn't honest and owning my shit early enough to like progress. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. That's why I get so excited when I get to talk to young guys that are in their 20s, because I feel like I didn't do shit in my 20s. I did not do anything positive for where we're at now. Like everything I have built was built from like 35.
I didn't educate. I didn't invest. I didn't do any sort of personal growth. It was about the machine and war and being a raider and being a recon marine and deployments and being in debt and broke and just spending money. And like, that was it, dude. I didn't give a shit about anything else. And now looking back, I'm like, maybe I should have had a little more foresight. You know what I mean? A little bit more like grown up, you know, act like a grown up. And I was a father. I was a father and a husband at the time too. But dude, that was just not my life, man. I was 100% in it for 12 years. Yep.
And the cool thing about it is that like we're both coaches. So like the thing that I see is like the reason coaches and mentors are so important is because you're able to compress time and leverage lessons learned.
Yep.
And like, so when you and I talk about like our struggle, like we're old dogs though. Like we've been around for a while. I've already done 10 years out of it. Like I get so like I have the ability to be able to fucking dig through your shit and help you compress time. And you don't have to learn all the lessons the slow, hard way, the way that I did. Right. I mean, fortunately I have my wife still and my kids and everything else, like everything, like things could have turned out much differently or much worse. Like certainly.
Right.
But I mean, were there hard times? Have we been through a lot of shit? Yeah. Unnecessarily, probably some of it for sure.
and here's the reality is a lot of it is on you. Like I'd say 90% of it is your fault.
100% of it is my fault.
So, and that's what's crazy is like, I get these guys and they're like, oh, my wife sucks. My life sucks. This sucks. And I don't know about this relationship. My kids are shit. I'm like, I beg to differ. It's probably you that sucks, bro. Like you're probably
100%.
You're probably the problem. Up. Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you don't show up in a way that you're proud of for fucking like a year straight, it's not the other person's problem.
Right.
Like, right?
Yeah.
And then a lot of times you get in these situations where you're such a shitbag, they're just following your lead. And so they turn into a shitbag.
That's exactly what I tell. I said, listen, man, I'm going to tell you right now, you're the man of the house. I don't give a shit what society says. And I'll say right now, you're the man of the house. When the man drives growth, the family follows. That's just a reality. And I've got case study after case study after client to prove it. When the man does personal growth, gets in shape, gets his house in order, gets his priorities in order, gets his money in order, the wife and kids follow. It just happens.
Yep.
They want that. They want to be led. They want to be led by somebody that has their shit together. But men are selfish, bro, and lazy.
Yeah.
And they let their inner bitch like take over.
Well, what happens is when you show up as a bitch, then your wife has to turn into masculine energy.
Right.
And like she can't show up in her feminine energy. When you talk about wanting to be led, she doesn't want me to tell her what the fuck to do. She wants to go be a female. And like
good,
then
bro.
it allows your relationship to thrive when you show up in the role that you're supposed to show up. Like we spent years in our marriage that way, I would say, which she was living in scarcity. And like, hey, this dude's volatile. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. Like, is he leaving? Is he like moving to fucking some third world country? What the fuck is this guy going to do? And like when they feel that fear and that scarcity and that uncertainty, they have to show up with masculine energy because we have kids and they've got fucking children to watch out for. And so then we go to war. Like, and start colliding because now it's two fucking men in the house. And like, I don't mean men from the, like, just how we're showing up in our behavior is both masculine.
Right.
Which leads to just fucking all out war. And so like, until you guys can unwind that shit, you're stuck for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it takes a humbleness and like leaving your ego behind as well while you're showing up.
Oh, that's a killer, man. Your ego and pride. Well, that's just the absolute killer of all of it.
Sure.
Like for everything. Yeah. Everything.
I still struggle with all that shit, man. The same thing. Cause like we'll have just a dumbass fight and she's like, are you going to say sorry? I'm like, no.
like a child. Like a 2-year-old. No. Like my 2-year-old, he does something and I'm like, you got to say sorry. And you can tell already at 2, he's like, I don't want to say sorry. I'm like, all right, you're going to timeout. And like 5 minutes later, he's like, I'm sorry. It's like, so we're ingrained, bro. That's ego and pride in a 2-year-old. And that's how grown ass men act. Bro, on that note though, like I talked to somebody today, check this out. I was infuriated. You might've seen my story. Talking to this guy. He's over 300 pounds, type 2 diabetes, 6 kids, single. He is the single bread earner for the family. His wife stays at home, takes care of the kids. He's over 300 pounds, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure. Like, I'm like, bro. And he's like, I can't afford coaching. I can't afford to get healthy.
You can't afford not to.
I'm like, what? Excuse me? I'm like, I straight up told him, I was like, you're a selfish motherfucker. I was like, you're gonna die young. Like, that's just the reality. You're gonna die young, and you're gonna leave all your kids and your family with nothing. I'm like, what the hell's going on, man? Like, it blows my mind, man, and it happens all the time.
Yeah,
what do you say?
Sure.
What do you say to those guys? What's your take on that small little story?
Well, I mean, they can't afford not to, in my opinion. I tell everybody 100% that they are the asset. Like, nothing functions without them. So if they're not taking care of themselves mentally, physically, like financially and spiritually, and like, you can't show up for everybody else. You've got to fill your cup first. And if you can't show up, then like you're doing a disservice to everyone in your family. You're not leading. Like if you're a sloppy motherfucker and you don't take care of yourself, or you have no self-control and can't eat one more powdered donut, like what does that teach your kids?
Right. They're going to follow suit.
And that's what we've lost. That's what we've lost. We've enabled everybody to be able to do whatever the fuck they want with zero consequences. And like, that's how society's wired right now. Like, I'm allowed to run my mouth to anybody I want and say whatever the fuck I want. I'm allowed to put whatever in my mouth. I'm allowed to watch Netflix and hang out and not be successful. And it's everybody else's fault.
Yeah, I took that same approach. So since everybody else was allowed to the last 2 years, I said, fuck it, so am I. So if you're allowed to say and feel however you want to say, then I get to as well. I get to call you a selfish motherfucker and a bitch.
Yeah.
If everybody else get to say whatever they want, then I can too. And I'm going to call you on your bullshit. But you know what I think? I think men, I think that's what we've been lacking.
100%. And part of it is just because we've been neutered to naturally, I want to be left the fuck alone. So right. our nature is to just say, I'm going to stay out of that. I'm not going to poke this bear.
None of my business.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, none of my business, right?
Yeah. If you want to be a fat ass, fuck it. Be a fat ass.
Yeah.
But honestly, the more that you give people the truth, dude, they don't like the message. So they attack the messenger initially. But then when he walks away, when he hangs up that phone and he goes and thinks about it, he's like, yeah, man, that was the fucking truth. And
so
how long has it been since someone told me the truth?
Yeah. And I think that's where, and you just said it, right? It's like we're afraid to, none of my business. I don't want to get involved. And it's like, well, I get that, but how much further can you take that? Like, how long does that go? And that is the reason why we have the society that we do, because men don't hold other men accountable. If men held other men accountable as a community, if I look at men and fathers and husbands as a community, we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in today. Not only that, the government, society wouldn't be able to pull the shit that they pull today, because the communities of men like it were 60s and earlier would be like, no, this is not what's in best interest of us and our community and our families. So no, that's not the way that's going to go.
Right.
And there'd be nothing 100%. Anybody can do about it. But everybody's so scared.
Exactly. And that's the impetus behind the group that I run. And that's what we're creating, because that's what I've seen since we moved down here in 2008. Like I told you, we've been through a few hurricanes. We got hammered by Hurricane Harvey, and I don't know if you remember seeing that on the news, but we were fucking out of commission for a while, and that's when I really
did you have a bunch of real estate back then too?
No.
Oh, I guess thank God
we had a gym.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it could go one of two ways. You could get real rich. Some of my friends got real wealthy during that period of time too. Yeah. But you never know. But what I saw during that time was, because like I said, I mean, I'm from Central Illinois. The people I grew up with were blue collar people, like Rust Belt type, factory workers, General Motors, other factories. That's where we come from. And we would help our neighbors regardless. I mean, there was a lot of regardless of your political leanings, there was a lot of just hardworking people that would help each other. There was a lot of union people, yes, but so when we were down here and I saw Hurricane Harvey happen, and people were just totally helpless. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I saw it firsthand on the ground. There was a bunch of people coming in from Louisiana, good old boys, and they had their airboats and everything else, and they were hauling people out. And I pulled a few people out of our neighborhood. Old people were stuck in their homes and couldn't move because the water was 6 feet high on our streets. And so I had swam a few people to safety to these elevated houses and things like that. But I think really that was the start of me having this switch flipped on me that we are not an independent, strong collective anymore at all.
Yeah.
And it really, the men highlighted it for me, because the men were very selfish and they were not taking care of everyone.
They weren't servants.
That,
they weren't being
that's
servants.
That's not what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And that's not who I am. I'm cut differently than that. And I think that there's a hole in that marketplace. I don't believe that it's gone. I think the people that I run around with are yearning for someone to show them that it's okay, and then how the fuck to do it.
Yeah.
in this current world that we live in, where people are wearing fucking VR goggles and shit like that.
Yeah, whatever. That's exactly what I tell the men in my group. I'm like, listen, guys, why you do what you do, because it ain't about you, motherfucker. It ain't about you.
Right.
None of it is. This podcast ain't about me. It ain't about Jeff. It's about you. That's why we're talking. And the quicker you learn that the shit you do and the moves that you make ain't about you, man, that's when the switch flips. Because it's like, I got to do this thing when I don't feel like it because it ain't about me. That changes everything.
Right. Yeah. And people honestly have no idea how many people are watching them and how impactful that can be.
Yeah.
Just as simple, like dumb shit, like what food you choose on a menu impacts your friends. Like that's an easy example that anyone could possibly relate to.
Yeah. Like
if you're sitting at lunch and it's like, hey, are we going to drink beer and have burgers, or are we getting like chicken salad and going to bang weights, or like a salad with tuna on it and then going to lift weights afterwards?
Yeah.
Like your choice in that situation can impact people. Now, do I fucking drink beer and eat burgers? Yes, I do. So like, don't take that the wrong way, but I'm telling you that people are watching you all the time, and you have a much greater impact than you realize. And people often sell themselves short from that standpoint.
I go one step further, man. I think it's your duty because there's somebody, whether you have a social media presence, whether you have a following on any, podcast, it doesn't matter. If you're just a dude living off the grid and you're in life, there is somebody out there waiting for you to inspire them. There is somebody in your circle that is depending, and you have a duty to be the very best version of yourself, because you might just save a life that's in your circle and you don't even know it. And if you're running around acting like a piece of shit, that person that needs to receive from you ain't going to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason that it's important to make investments in all aspects of your life daily is because you never know when you have to go to that well. And God forbid that you fucking started training yesterday. And I don't mean like necessarily a physical well. Yeah. I mean, obviously, like I do everything I do to remain capable.
Yeah.
And because I don't ever want to be caught in a situation where I'm like, fuck, man, I could have saved 2 of my kids if I would have been able to fucking deadlift 500 pounds or something like that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that extreme. Like, we have an obligation to be physically prepared and physically fit
absolutely.
enough
look at the
to
last,
be able to not be a liability.
I was talking to one of my coaches, Jerry. I don't know if you ever come across some of his story. He was a client for 2 years, 300 pounds. His dad died at 47 and he was like 43, and he was in the same boat, same medical issues, same weight, everything. And he's like, holy shit. So he got on board with us. Now he's one of our coaches, one of our, top coaches, because he lives and breathes it. Right.
Yep.
But we did a podcast together, and he was talking like, man, and back then, look at the last 2 years, you're downtown with your family. You turn the corner, next thing you know, you're in, like, literally, in some of these cities, you turn the corner and you're in a protest / riot, and you got your whole family there, and you're stuck, and you're 300 pounds. What the fuck are you going to do? You're a liability to your family.
Yep.
Like, that's not, so he brought that up. Like, there is no way that I could have done anything for them. They would have had to take care of me. I couldn't walk down the street without losing my breath.
Yeah. I think that people are so, I don't know what the word is that I would say, but like they don't believe that they're ever going to be needed. And like the situation that I named earlier was a natural disaster.
Yeah.
So like you talk about man-made disasters, and like people have no concept. You and I have a concept of how evil operates.
Right.
And like, but I talk to people on the street and they don't believe that that's real. It's until you see it for yourself or it affects you or your family, like people do not believe that is
it's so
possible.
And it's so sad too because it happens so fast. And the reason why, and back when I was doing the whole the training consulting thing, which thank God I'm not doing that anymore. I said the reason why things will probably never happen to me, one, I make myself a hard target. Two, I'm prepared. That's pretty much it.
Yep.
I'm a hard target. So if somebody looks at me, they go, it's probably not a great idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah. People say that I look fucking mean and unapproachable, and like that's okay.
That's okay. Yeah. Because I got my kids with me and my wife with me, and they're like, you know what? So even my wife is that way. You've seen her; she's a beast, and as my wife, she does not look like a soft target. She looks like someone who's like she definitely works out. It's probably a little. Yeah. She doesn't look soft. She walks with a purpose. She's a little boss lady. You know what I mean? This is a super sad situation that happened here locally. There was a woman that was murdered in a shop down the road. He walked in. I think he walked in at like 5:31. My wife walked out at 5:30. And he went in there and killed a lady. And she had kids and stuff. Horrible situation. And that's the kind of evil that we're talking about.
Right.
And I just came back from overseas and I had just gotten home and I had to do a mastermind call with my group. So she had the kid out. My kid went to my mom's down the street. And then she went to the store. And I'm like, God forbid thank God nothing happened because I wouldn't have even seen my wife. And it happened like that.
Yep.
It happened that fast, Jeff.
That's what I mean. Like you have to make the deposits daily because you never know when that's going to happen. And when it does, you're not going to have time to go get in shape.
No. Yeah. And that's what I think that's what happened. I mean, he was sitting there. I think he was sitting there watching and he saw her and was like, that's probably going to be a little bit more of a handful than I want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he waited.
Allie looks like she scratched my eyes out.
Yeah, and she was. She's crazy. She's legitimately, she's crazy. And she just got her blue belt. Good for you, babe. So, anyways, be a hard target. Like you said, the daily deposits. You know, when you turn the corner and something bad happens, it's too late already then. Either you're prepared or you're not. And that's the thing with life, too. Your money, we talk about this, recession, which whatever. That's, on paper, sure. In real life, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I'm thriving, but it's a choice, right? That's a set. Maybe we can get into that here in a sec. But it's about being prepared in all facets of life, right? Like,
yes,
you have a duty to your family to be prepared. You have a duty to be your very best. Like, men have a fucking responsibility to be the very best version of themselves. This is the reason, ladies and gentlemen, like the beginning of the podcast, why I freaking love this family is because this is Jeff. Everything I'm saying is Jeff. Like, this is what he stands for. And that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast. So tell me what you're doing now. How did you get into this? What have you been doing? I mean, I know you started a gym. You still have the gym?
We sold it in May.
Congratulations.
We 11 years. We owned and operated that gym. Sold it in May. I'm just doing real estate full time for right now and running my coaching group, and which is just for men. It's a men's kind of leadership and wealth, financial accumulation group. Like guys pursuing more out of life, essentially. Everything we've kind of hit on the show so far, certainly. One thing I think that we could drill on is I'm huge on, like, I think men need to create abundance in their lives from a financial perspective too. Like, everybody shies away from that shit because it makes people uncomfortable.
Jeff, money's bad though, right? Money's evil.
No, absolutely not. Money is a magnifier, and you have an obligation to go get more of it. Like, I don't know much about the Bible except that he talks about money all the time. And and if you are a good, solid human being, he rains riches upon you so that you can do more in your community and help more people. And I think everybody has an obligation. Like, foundationally, the way I teach everything is it starts with you, like buttoning up everything. Like, we talk fitness, family, finances, and freedom in my group. And so, like, you're hitting all those things, but it starts internally with you first, in between the 6 inches between your ears, and like taking care of your fitness, taking care of all that. Then you have to lay the foundation, which is your house. And like, you have to take care of everyone in your home. For me, it's 4 kids and a wife. And like, I have to have my financial foundation, everything in my household buttoned up and be good. Then you take it externally to my neighborhood or my smaller community, or run a group. And then you can go broader with it. But it all starts in a series of like ripples, if you will.
Yeah.
And so, and at each phase, you can make a larger and larger impact and help more and more people. But it all does start with you. I just wanted to mention that because you were talking earlier about finances, and like, I am a huge advocate on fucking men should be making money, lots of it. And if women want to make money, great.
Because
I'm happy with that too.
Because it's there.
Yes.
So are we in a recession then? Is there no money be made, Jeff?
There's more money available than I've ever seen in my lifetime. So like, there's so much money right now. So then is it real? What's going to happen in 2 years? I have no idea, but
I'm going to get as much of it as I can. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And everybody should. It's such a perception thing, man. And I don't know the full story. Or maybe you've heard it. Do you ever know the story about the guy with the hot dog stand? I love this one.
Which one?
It's like, basically, he's like, this old man, has a hot dog stand. He crushes it, makes 2 hot dog stands, keeps expanding. Next thing you know, he's like a multimillionaire with 31 hot dog stands, right? Which I didn't know. Like, apparently, hot dog stands are cash cows, especially in like in like New York and like millionaires selling fucking hot dogs. I love it.
Well, there's no overhead. Yeah, yeah. I think they're selling the permits in New York. Their permits to sell food, I think, are like multi-million-dollar permits.
It's wild. So, so anyways, his son comes to me. He's like, "Dad, why do you keep expanding? Don't you know we're in a recession?" He's like, "What? Holy shit, man, no." So he started pinching pennies and cutting costs, and slowly he dwindled his, he cut one hot dog stand and then cut another one, and he's back down to 1 hot dog stand making what he was before. So was he in a recession, or did he create a recession?
He created it.
He created it for himself. This is perception.
Yeah.
And all this shit happened, man.
That's true.
I just made the choice. Like, I closed the gym because we got raided. You remember that?
Yep.
I fought it, and then I just said, my business mentor was like, "Why the fuck you're making more money coaching this group than you are with just close the gym, make it private, and then keep making money, and that pays for the gym." And I was like, "Oh yeah, and I don't have to worry about this headache. That's a good idea. Time and money coaching." And and then we sold a business, but everything else, dude, we just made the decision in 2020 when everything went to shit. I said, "I don't give a shit, man. I'm gonna grow it all." So our coaching business grew like wildfire. Johnny Slicks went through the fucking roof. We just turned the gas up on that one, man. I threw freaking gasoline on it. Went through the roof. It was a choice, though. We all sat around this table and we're like, "What are we gonna do? Let's be intentional and make a choice." And that was it, man. Fucking.
Well, I'm a huge advocate of what you're saying. Yes, I've loved watching your trajectory, but you're exactly right. All it's doing is thinning the field, man. And the people that are willing to continue to make moves and not sit on their hands and be scared are like, the next 18 months we'll see more opportunity than like those people that are willing to take risks. I like
hearing that.
There's never been more money just available for the taking, and anyone that waits and misses this opportunity is going to kick themselves in 20 years, and they're going to be like, that was the time that either made me or I could have fucking made it.
Have you ever looked into, during the Great Depression, how many millionaires were made during that time?
No.
In that time, and I don't know the exact number because it's been a while since I looked it up because I was interested in this stuff, right? Because there's always, when there's a down, someone always profits off of it. So I'm like, so who profits off of it and how do they profit off of it? Where's the opportunity in the downward slide to be on the upward slide? And so I looked into it. In the Great Depression, I think there was more brand new millionaires than any other time during that time. And it was due to opportunity and choices. They saw opportunities and they took risk. And there were more new millionaires during that time than there ever had before during the Great Depression.
Yeah. That's why I'm so excited about what's happening right now, because I mean, with technology and everything else, I fucking don't like technology for some reasons, but it's also like the most magnificent thing we've ever seen is the internet.
That's how you use it.
And now we're internationally connected, and now we've got blockchain and fucking alternative currency, and like, it's an amazing time to be alive.
Yeah, I just had Ivan Paychecks on, who was like, he's like the crypto king, the Bitcoin king.
Yeah.
And he was kind of explaining that and how to make money off of it and what it's going to do in the future. And it was some good stuff. Yeah. Definitely things to pay attention
to. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
sure. I mean,
can you talk real quick? Cause you made a clip on another podcast and I fucking hate. I go to our business bank and I go to our meetings and I go to these different things and they're like, have you thought about an IRA or 401k or blah, blah? And I'm like, you say this one more time, I'm going to punch you in the face, man. They're like, well, you can put $15,000 a year and tax free. And then eventually you can pull it out when you're old. I'm like, what the fuck? It's like the worst. And like, I don't know who you're talking to, but you're not selling me on shit. Can you break that down for me of why you would not do that and what you did instead?
Yeah, I'm super bullish on overfunded whole life insurance, or what do they call it? Infinite banking system is what it's called. If you want to look it up, that's what some people call it. It's just over life insurance, and if you go to the proper
Jeff, are you
agent to write it for you, broker?
Are you in the infinite banking system? And are you BYOB?
No,
you're not.
I don't know these terms.
No, do you operate? Do you operate in the infinite banking system already?
Yes.
Holy shit, dude! Really?
Yeah.
How long?
That's what we've been doing for like 4 or 5 years.
I just started.
So, okay. Okay, cool.
I just had Chris Noggle on. The dude blew my mind. I got a meeting with him today. Yeah. Bro, why do we not talk about this shit?
Because there would be no workforce. Because if you started doing it now, when that was the next thing I was going to tell you, you need to start paying your kid $12,500 a year out of your business through payroll, W-2, and then start them their own policies.
Mm-hmm.
And because if your kids turn 18 and they've got $200,000 that they can access, by the time they're 30, it's going to be fucking $750,000. And if you gave me $750,000 that I knew how to leverage, I would never work.
Ever.
Right. And so that's why.
Guys, if
they teach everybody about it, if they taught you about this in 6th grade math and then taught it through high school, and you just started some little dipshit policy at $100 a month, like, or even $100 every quarter, like you would have some real buying power by the time you were 20, 25 years old, and everybody and their brother could start their own business.
Guys,
because who couldn't start a business with $10,000 or bootstrap something?
Guys, I want you to listen to what this guy's saying, then I want you to go back to my podcast. And Mark, you remember the number of the podcast? 37. Chris Noggle, 37. Go listen to that podcast. There's a link in there. I mean, this is what Jeff is talking about is what the Clintons do. It's what the Kennedys do. It's what the Rothschilds did. The largest purchaser of this specialized policy that Jeff is talking about in business is Apple and Samsung. Did you know in 2019, I bank with Wells Fargo. I fucking hate Wells Fargo. So right now I bank with Wells Fargo. In 2019, the last reported, they had $18 billion in specialized whole life insurance policies.
All of them do. Like Bank of America, the majority, like their top 40% of their exposure is in these policies. And the reason it is because they're making 6% on this money.
Compounding.
And then you're looking at
compounding.
And then they can lend it 10 times.
Yes.
So you're talking about the cyclical rate of money at that point. These policies allow an individual like myself or you to potentially get the same dollar working 3 times for us.
Well, what Chris calls it is BYOB, be your own bank. He's like, utilize it. Yeah. And do what they do, but utilize your policy as your bank.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So what you do is let's say you grow your policy over time to $100,000 of cash value available. You would then take your $100,000. Let's dumb down the numbers. Let's say you get $20,000 in there because that's more realistic for most people, right?
Yeah.
So you take $20,000 of cash value. That's now your down payment on a $100,000 property, right? Then you buy a $100,000 rental property and use the rental payments to pay back your policy. And so that policy earns like a net 1%. The thing that people don't understand is that when it's deployed, when I put my $20,000 into the $100,000 house, I have a 5% interest rate that I'm paying back. But historically, that policy pays 6%.
It's a spread. And you're making money. Yeah.
And you're still netting 1%. And because they pay you interest, like the money is still there because it's secured by your life. And so unlike your 401k, if you take your 401k out and you put $100,000 on your first property, your first house that you're moving into, you don't earn any interest until you pay the $100,000 back. If you do that with this infinite banking system, they pay interest on the money the whole time it's gone. And so then you use that rental property, $20,000. By that time, you've got $30,000 in there, and then you go do it again and again and again. And it takes a minute to start picking up steam, but like very easily, once you get like a couple $100,000 in there, you're buying like $1 million assets with these things, like a small apartment or something like that. And then you're putting it back, and then you're going again.
And I think the biggest thing is
go ahead.
Learning how, first, you need to learn how to make money for yourself. Make money for yourself so that you can employ these assets. Because like for us, we've made money, and all of a sudden now I can drop a couple $100K in a policy like this and then flip it fast because I have access to all of this money, which is now earning me a spread.
Yep. They'll do a one-time deposit at the front end of the thing, and like literally the next day, like 93% of that money is available.
Wild, bro. Wild.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I was talking about on that show because I fucking hate 401ks and
it's a scam,
just conventional
bro.
investing.
It benefits them. It does not benefit the individual. I mean, 100%. People are making so much money off the general populace, and they don't even realize it.
Yep.
It's absolutely mind blowing, man. And so I'm gonna fucking tell everybody.
I teach all my people it like one of the books. I think you read. The book that got me started on it was What Would the Rockefellers Do?
Yes. Yeah.
Written by Garrett Gunderson. I think it is no longer the Rockefellers because they gave him a cease and desist. So now I think the book is called What Would Billionaires Do?
Okay. I remember the other one.
Because it's the same exact book. He had to change the title. And
because they don't want people to know what they're doing.
I don't know, but you're exactly right. The Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers, Disney, everybody who made
Warren Buffett
insane fortunes during the Great Depression used these policies to buy everything else.
Yeah.
And so you're also seeing right now in a marketplace where you could do something like that with how they're jacking up interest rates. Like private lending is all the way up in like 16 to 18% now.
Yeah.
So if I take $100,000 out from my policy and I loan it to somebody else, I can make 18% on that money.
Yeah.
So I would be paying back my policy very quickly.
So what people are doing, so Chris just created that, I think it's a real estate fund, more of a real estate thing, but it's basically a private money club where you're earning 12%. So you take money from your policy, you put it in my private money club. Now you're earning 12%. Now you got a minimum 6% spread.
Yep. And everybody that I know in a runner.
And it's really never going anywhere, really. Not really. The money's really not going anywhere. Your money is not really going anywhere. You're just earning 6%.
Yeah, exactly. And so like everybody that I do real estate with all has funds that are like that as well. And they're 9 to 12% preferred rate of return, which means that you get paid first before any of the other bills are paid. Yeah. So it's super secure. It's backed by assets. And so guys are doing that stuff all the time. And it's just it's a way to create way more interest, and it's super passive as well. Yeah. Like if you're gonna give me that and you're gonna make 12%, you're essentially gonna make 13% because you're gonna get 1% on the net while it's out, and then you're getting the 12% gain every year too.
Yeah.
And so, and it's literally no work for you. All you do is cash the check.
Yep.
And so
I like the,
so
on the podcast, he actually even broke it down into like how to pay for cars, to where basically you buy a car and the car can basically essentially make you money. So you use your bank or your policy as a bank, but you're paying yourself interest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You pay yourself the same, today's interest for cars.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's wild, man. And you start and a lot of people are like, I can't understand what the hell this is fake. And I believe that too, but it's not. It's not. And everybody should get on board, especially if you're going to be that percentage of people that, take care of their shit and have
I started teaching it to my masterminds. Oh, sorry.
Good.
Sorry, bro. We had some lag there. No. I started teaching it to my mastermind people in like 2018, and they thought the same thing. Like they thought it was too good to be true, and that I was blowing smoke.
How many? Did somebody finally just go, okay, I'll buy it off of this. I'm gonna try it. That's all it took was probably one, huh?
Well, in the last 2 years, we've had 3 people in my mastermind use their policies, which didn't exist in 2019, to buy over $3 million commercial buildings with it.
Badass, bro.
So yeah, the proof is in the pudding for sure.
So let's talk about your real estate, or what you can say. How did you get started? Well, obviously we know how you got started, but what was the first property? What do you have now? How are you running it? Because people are really interested in this stuff. This is generational wealth stuff. You want to become successful, you got to buy some dirt.
Yep. Yeah. For me, honestly, it was just something I understood because I'm a simpleton. Like it made sense to me. I'm like, I can touch that. I can feel it. It's going to hold value. Like crypto and that shit, I know it and I learn it because I need to know enough about it.
Yeah.
And I want to stay in tune with like when my kids are ready to do shit and have opportunities. My oldest is 10, and I'm like, I want to be able to mentor her and help her make sound financial decisions.
Right.
But like real estate has always made a lot of sense for me. In 2007, I bought a 7-unit apartment complex. That was the first rental that I ever bought. And then we had a couple rentals that we owned. This was all in Illinois until 2013. And then I sold everything in 2013. And then in 2018, my corporate job was going to lay me off if I didn't move. And I was like, okay, forget it. I'm done. And so I didn't move. And I took the severance and I put it into a few rentals down here. So we started again in 2019. And we started acquiring rentals, like I said, 2019, 2020, 2021. And now we have 41 rentals of our own. And then I'm the general partner on another 28 rentals that are in a syndication as well. And so the way I got started is basically not a smart way to do it. And I kind of tell people like all the mistakes that I've learned now, which is like running out of money, using my own money, which is not how to do it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much just a numbers game. If the asset will pay for itself, like you don't want to put them in your personal name. Right. You don't want to put them finance them under your social security number, your credit, stuff like that, because then debt to income comes into play. And like you can't, even if you're a real good W-2 earner, you can't get more than 10 loans in your name. Yeah. They don't allow it. And so you have to kind of, once you get above 10 rentals, you have to get more sophisticated and figure out how to move on to that next level.
I had Tony on. He's like 32, already has like 10 million in real estate.
Good.
And he was probably a couple podcasts back, but he was saying that the bank looks at anything more like a quadplex is still technically like a single family house.
Exactly.
Anything more than that, the bank really starts looking more like at a business plan, or looks at it as a business. Is that right?
Yes. It's commercial lending versus residential lending. 1 unit to 4 units is considered residential. Now, there's advantageous ways to go about using that, though, because I can go get a 3% down FHA loan 11 months ago for 1.75%. And if I'm willing to move into one of the units, I can buy a quad at 1.75 in my own name with 3% down. So there's ways to leverage those programs that are actually advantageous.
Yeah.
Plus, you have to understand the highest appreciation rates are in the single family market as well, because those are the fastest appreciating homes. But when you get to 5 doors or more in one property, you move into the commercial lending space. And so you're just doing regular commercial lending.
Okay.
And the terms are different. They're not as advantageous, but obviously there's more cash flow in those deals and things like that. There's more levers to pull as well.
Well,
but
Tony was saying,
they do evaluate it like a business. Like
he was basically saying, like, I look at those larger buildings, like the 5 and more, and I also go look. It's like, how much money is this building making me day one? Because that's what's going to give you. That's what's going to give you the buying power at the bank for that business. Is day one when I own this, or my business owns this, it's making this much money. And now I can improve upon it, charge more, and I'm making more money. The bank's making more money, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, it's effectively just net profit minus debt service. Mm-hmm. So, like, how much money would it make sans debt service? So if you paid cash for it, how much money would it make?
Yeah.
And that's where they evaluate and derive a cap rate from it, and then you buy based on cap rate.
Excellent. So if I was 20 years old, I caught the infinite banking system. I'm like, okay, I saved up, I don't know, say $60K. I'm going to drop it in this thing. Within 30 days, I can pull out 93% or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
How do I get started in real estate, Jeff? What should I do? What would you, if you were, let's just do this like a word problem. I come to you, I'm like, Jeff, this is what I'm going to do. How do I do it? This is what I have available. What can I do? What's my first move?
Well, it really depends on like your cash available can buy you speed.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's just going to take time. Real estate is slow. Like I tell people all the time, it's not a get rich quick scheme, but you will fucking get rich.
Yeah.
Like there's no question about it, because at some point in your career, it's buy and hold it and let it sit.
Yeah.
Like where people make mistakes is you have to have income. You have to have an income source, whether that's your primary job or whether you're going to create a vertical within real estate that's going to make you cash flow. That's why you see people wholesale all the time. That's why flippers flip, things like that. Because that is the cash flow that generates the purchases. The mistakes that people make when they're young is they get caught up in that cash flow game. So they flip houses and they're doing great flipping houses, but then their lifestyle creeps to spend all of their profits.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, I know people that have flipped like 6,000 houses that don't fucking own any. And because they got used to making $2-3 million a year, and their lifestyle was so much that they had to keep making $3 million a year. So there was no conversation on like, hold these.
Yeah. See, I'm more interested in owning a bunch of dirt long term.
Yep. Same. And so like the next thing that you would have to go into buy and hold is the way to get wealthy. That's the bottom line, but you have to have that income source.
Right.
So
well, for me, that's what Tony was saying is like, so first you need to build a business that's making money, make money first, and then take your profit. Don't spend it. Don't take it. Use that money to make you more money, to make passive income. Use your profit to create passive income.
Yep.
Which is where we're sitting.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so what I would do if I had $60,000 is I would make sure that I had enough money to generate money. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not shitting on $60,000, but if I had $60,000, I'd probably spend it on myself, like personal development.
Yeah, that's a great point, because that's what I've done, and that's the reason why I'm where I'm at today.
Exactly. I would go buy a $50,000 mentor that could show me how to build a 7-figure business.
Right.
And then I would use that 7-figure business to buy up as many $100,000, under $300,000 houses as I could get my hands on. Because you have to, like, there's just a lot of things that go into that. How much time do you have? If you want turnkey rentals, then you're going to spend a little bit more and you're going to get a little less margin, but you're still going to have this massive portfolio. Like our portfolio, I think it's like $8 million at this point. Like it could be 28 million, but I haven't had the ability to push on it the way we need to. And for you, like you have all these obligations. You're not going to necessarily have the time unless you partner in JV with somebody. And JVs are super advantageous because if you've got somebody to hustle full time in the real estate space, they can go bird dog properties. They can get it done, and you can feed the cash if they can bring some of the cash to the table too.
Right.
And it's mutually beneficial, right?
Right. Because
if we grow a $500 million portfolio and you own half of it, that's a pretty fucking good place to be.
I'll take that.
Like, right? As opposed to
especially not having to do much, just working on my business.
That's my point, though.
Yeah.
You throw your cash over there and like let it continue to grow. Because if you have to do it yourself, you're limited by time constraints, family constraints, all the other shit you've got going on. So you may only have a $10 million portfolio because of the time that you had, right? Whereas you just plugged into this person that has nothing but time, and now they got you to 500 mil.
Yeah.
So like you're in a way more advantageous situation. So if I had 60 grand, I'd probably buy a couple houses in a affordable housing market. Like that's what we specialize in, $300,000 and below, because that tier of property is entry level, it's rental properties, and it's first time home buyers. So you're never running out of those people to like, because it's investors that are coming in to buy them up, and it's first time home buyers that are looking to get themselves into some real estate. And where you'll lose your ass on houses is in that middle tier above that, because those are the properties that are like families. that they buy because they want enough space. They buy because they got a raise at their job or whatever in like $800,000. Like those are the ones that tank when the market tanks. So like they may have bought it for $850 because the market was hot. You're going to see this probably in Florida in not too long, in the distant future, because the prices are so overinflated. We still have a huge supply demand though, and a supply shortage because we're not building houses fast enough.
Yeah.
But that lowest tier of houses is the one that's going to stay 100% occupied, and it's going to appreciate the fastest. It's going up the fastest. Like our real estate in the last 2 years has went up like 19% and 21% year over year. And
that's essentially what you guys are doing now. That and again your group, obviously, what you're working with your men, but that's what you're living off of. You're buying. You're still living off.
No, I roll it, all of it. We don't touch anything in the real estate space. Like I do all of our living expenses and stuff is off our coaching programs.
Amazing.
And so I'm just allowing the real estate to go and churn. I think we're going to buy an Airbnb in this fourth quarter of this year. I'm super bullish on the numbers that have come out of those.
I've been watching, and I listened to what the CEO of Airbnb said. Which when I saw that, I was like, oh, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Well, the thing is that like those things, I have coached probably 15 guys through purchasing Airbnbs, and they're killing it. Yeah. The cash flow that they're generating is fantastic.
Massive amount of passive income.
And they're not going anywhere. They're deeply entrenched in these communities because they're charging hospitality taxes.
Yeah.
So they're getting taxed like a hotel. Mm-hmm. And we all know that once the government is plugged into a revenue stream,
you're good.
They're going to keep it.
Yeah, we've got one on the beach here in Surf City. Does very well.
Awesome.
Yeah, it does very well.
I love it.
Yeah. I want to get like four more.
So from a cash flow perspective, those are balanced though. Like you want to take one short-term rental and 4 long-term rentals.
Yeah.
1 short-term rental, 4 long-term rentals, because then you can build up your capital reserves with that cash flow from the short-term rental, and then you won't ever have to feed it. Yeah. So the short-term rental can build up cap reserves and like money, or like you want to put a roof on a house to improve it because you need it or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then you don't have to write the check from yourself to the company. Because long-term rentals don't generate a ton of cash flow. I mean, that's the nature of the beast. They're $250 to $650 a month.
But it's the asset,
and that's why people lose steam in real estate.
Yeah, but it's the asset that you're betting on. That's why it's the long-term asset of Excellent. So
Absolutely.
Jeff, so you are doing all this stuff. You stay in shape. You got 4 kids. You got a wife. You can do all this stuff. Invest in your kids, invest in your wife, make money all at the same time, and stay fit.
Yeah, we RV all the time too.
I know. I love that. I love that.
And we homeschool our kids.
Damn. How is this possible, Jeff? There's no way. All the normal men that I talk to, they're a mess. They say they can't because they don't have time.
It's just a priority to me. And so I make it happen. Every bit of it. We have family core values, and every decision that we make is based on those core values, and it's in alignment with them. And so like those are our drivers.
You guys,
we don't live. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I want to say we don't live. Go ahead.
We don't live an extravagant lifestyle by any means. I mean, we have a nice house, we have pool, we have all the other shit, but like we spend our money on experiences with our kids and stuff like that. So, I mean, some people think I do a lot of stuff, but I mean, I'm not really like into accumulating stuff to have stuff. Like, So I buy my time.
You guys do something that was very cool. Once a year, you and your wife sit down, right? And do what? What's this? Talk me through this process.
Oh man, yeah. We actually leave our house and get babysitters for our kids, and we take a vacation. But the reason that we do it is because we do annual planning, and we get away from everything and we reflect on the year prior, what we accomplished, where we came from. I mean, this includes like personal financial statements, everything else. Did we make more money? Like where are the businesses at? What are we doing? What do we own? And then like what went right, what went wrong, and what are we going to do in the year coming ahead of us? And we lay it out, and we set our goals in kind of the 4 categories that I told you. We lay out what's important to us this year. Like, well, I'm going to hire a coach. I'm going to do this. I'm going to join this mastermind. I'm going to work out 90% of the days, whatever. Like, I'm going to invest in this and that. I mean, we're just very intentional and deliberate about what we're doing. What vacations are we taking? What travel are we doing? And so, yeah, it's, and then we come back kind of on fire from it because we have gotten together on it. And I think that's the mistake most people make is they work in silos. Right. My wife and I did that for years.
They're flying by the seat of their pants.
Yeah. Or I have my goals that are separate from her.
Yeah.
And that's not reality.
Not if you want to live an intentional life of purpose.
Well, I mean, my goals affect her.
Right.
If I say I'm going to go out and fucking climb Mount McKinley and it's going to take 3 weeks to do it, like she has to be on board for that because we have a bunch of other people. Or if I'm going to go summit Everest or something fucking crazy like that, or run some Ironman triathlon, like, hey, are you cool with that? Like the investment that it takes.
Right.
And vice versa. And I think that's where people get caught up in these relationship situations because your partner's generally not holding you back. You're just not telling them what the fuck you want to do. Like if I want to run an Ironman and I want to train for 5 hours a day, like I need to tell my wife. And she needs to be like, cool.
Probably should be a discussion, right?
Right. I can't just leave on my bike for 5 fucking hours because, like, yeah, she's going to be like, what the fuck? Like, you were supposed to pick the kids up.
Where the fuck are you at? Well, I'm riding this bike. Oh, I love it.
But when it becomes a shared goal, like, then I can support you and she can support me, right?
Yeah. This is what I always say, man.
Like, you guys are going through it right now. Ellie's training for a show or whatever. I'm sure that takes you, like, you have to step up in certain facets to take care of that.
But but because of it's something that she's wanted to do for a long time, it's like, dude, I'm 100% on board. I'm the biggest fan. Let's get it done. Let's hire a coach. What do you need? What do you need to get it done? We've got 2 coaches for her. She's crushing it.
Yeah.
And then as soon as she's done, I'm putting a fucking baby in that thing.
There you go.
There you go.
See?
You won.
Everybody's intentional.
You're one, babe. Let's make a baby.
I love it, man.
I've got it. But I got one universal soldier on ice waiting. He's up there.
I love it.
He's up there waiting. As soon as we're done next year, putting this baby in.
So fucking awesome.
Yeah, I know.
I'm so happy.
Trying to be like you, Jeff. I'm trying to get 4 kids. I think we're gonna call it at 4, though. I think we're gonna call it a 4.
I've been trying to get 5, and Kirsten's not having it.
No, and she just hired my coach, right? Is that right?
Yes.
She's gonna love it, man. She's a badass. And
she already does. She's like, week 1, she was like crippled. She's like, oh, this is different.
Oh, and she's gonna eat so much food, bro. She's going to have her eat so much food, way more than she's used to.
That's awesome.
She's going to be over there complaining and be like, I can't eat anymore. You're going to have to message me and tell me how that's going. It's be hilarious.
I will, for sure, bro.
So where can people find you, man? Where's your group? How do people get in? how can they get connected with you?
Best way to get a hold of me is just Real Jeff Smith on Instagram. Just DM me there, and I'll get you hooked up with all the information if you want to know anything.
Okay.
If you have questions about real estate, if you have questions about whatever, fitness, like I said, I've been in fitness for 15 years. I'm not new to it by any means. I just don't talk about it very much. I just worry about myself. But yeah, anything, family, freedom, real estate, I'm happy to help. I'm an open book there. I don't do a great job with my content. My content is ever evolving, but I am a wealth of knowledge. I've spent a shitload of money on masterminds and education and things like that. So I know a lot more than I let on in most cases.
I knew that from the get-go.
But I'm happy to help anyone.
You know who you should hire for your content?
Who?
Your wife. Because she's fucking hilarious, bro. Just be like, here, I'm going to hire you. You're going to run my channel and you're going to create, I'm going to do whatever you say. Because she is fucking hilarious. I love it.
She is funny. She is funny. Our content suffers because of all the other shit you asked us about.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, of course. Allie makes me do a bunch of dumb shit all the time too, and I hate it, but it does really well. So if any of you guys see those videos out there, me being silly, that's definitely not me. It's not my cup of tea, but she's the one that runs the show. So I'm like, all right, what are we creating today? All right, my content is me yelling at people. That's me. If you see me yelling at somebody, that's the real me. If you see me being silly, I'm 100% getting told to be silly. Yeah.
You got to listen sometimes, man.
Yeah,
those are probably your best views.
They are, and it pisses me off because I'm like, bro, this is stupid, and it's like thousands and thousands and thousands of views, and it's like I'm telling somebody how to be a better father, and they're like, man, I don't want to hear that. I'm gonna go over to this, watch this guy run around in a dick suit. You know what I mean?
It makes them uncomfortable, bro.
Yeah,
talk about it.
Yeah, it makes them uncomfortable. Well, dude, thanks for coming on, man. You guys go check out Jeff. He is a wealth of knowledge, and I can't wait to link up in person again. Last thing, just to tell you what type of guy this is. We hit Hurricane Florence hit us, and about 2 years before that, they had a bad hurricane in Houston, right? I don't remember the name of it.
That's Harvey.
Harvey, yeah. So he knew everything that had happened, and he took a donation of a bunch of stuff from his gym and other people. And I don't even know how you got through, bro, because we couldn't get through. Drove through the night with a buddy, dropped off a ton of supplies for us, came into a house, told us exactly how to gut it and everything because we were helping, I don't even know, hundreds of houses in the area. We had a whole volunteer crew. It was it was a mess, bro. A mess.
Yep.
Drove all the way through the night with the trailer, through water. How the fuck you got through, I have no idea. I know it was a rough to get through and to get out, right?
Sure, yeah.
I think you were here for what, maybe an hour and dumped off stuff, taught us what we needed to know based off your experience, turned around and left.
It wasn't long.
And
my wife only gave me 40. I only had 50 hours to make that trip because my daughter's birthday was the September 21st. It was the same exact time of year.
She was
I had to be home.
She was like, you got to make it happen, Jeff. Make it happen. But he did. And that's, and you didn't get paid for that. That was time spent. That was energy spent. I know you had to have been exhausted, and you were exhausted when you showed back up for your daughter's birthday. And, but that's what we're talking about. I want to end that with the podcast with that. That's fucking service. He is a fucking servant of the people. And that is an individual that you want to, these are the type of individuals that you want to surround yourself with. Not selfish motherfuckers, but people that are serving other people. So thank you for that, man. That was a big, big move and shows you who you are.
I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. Hey guys. All right. You know the deal. We're changing men's lives here. We're changing families' lives. It doesn't happen unless you share this fucking podcast. So screenshot this shit. Tag the real Jeff Smith. Tag me. Tag Always Forward Podcast. We'll push it out as well. Share this with some friends. Drop us a review. Until then, Never quit, never surrender, always forward. We'll see you guys in the next episode.